Life often presents its greatest surprises in the most ordinary moments. On a bustling afternoon, a man of extraordinary wealth and success drove his sleek, custom-made car through the city's heart. For most, his life seemed like the pinnacle of achievement: lavish parties, grand estates, and complete freedom. Yet, for him, it was all a carefully curated illusion masking a void he could never fill. As the light turned red, forcing him to pause, his gaze caught something unusual: a woman with 4 children walking hurriedly along the sidewalk. Her energy was palpable as she wrangled the lively group, but that wasn't what made him stop and stare. It was the children. Each bore an uncanny resemblance to him. They have the same piercing eyes. It has the same defined chin. It was as though he had stepped into a time machine and was staring at himself multiplied by 4. Curiosity tightened its grip. Who was this woman? How could these children possibly look so much like him? Could it be coincidence? Or was this moment meant to reveal something far more profound? His heart raced, his mind reeled, and the carefully constructed walls of his polished world began to crack. He didn't know yet that this fleeting encounter would lead to a revelation so profound that it would forever change his understanding of family, love, and legacy. If stories of life's unexpected twists captivate you, and you're intrigued by the depths of human connection and transformation, subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss this journey as we explore the remarkable tale of a man whose chance encounter redefines everything he thought he knew about himself. Stay tuned for an unforgettable story that proves life's most valuable treasures often come when we least expect them. Logan Carter sat behind the wheel of his jet-black sports car, its engine purring like a caged panther. The vehicle was his prized possession, one of many symbols of his success as the owner of a multi-billion-dollar tech firm. His morning had started like every other: a meticulously planned routine of meetings, stock updates, and power lunches. To the world, he was a man who had it all: wealth, status, and freedom. Yet beneath the gleaming surface, Logan lived in isolation, trapped by his success. As he navigated the crowded streets of downtown Manhattan, Logan's mind wandered to the same thought that often crept in during quiet moments. Is this all there is? He had no family to ground him, no close friendships to confide in, and every relationship he'd ended as quickly as it began. His evenings were often spent alone in his penthouse, staring at the glittering city below, a city he had conquered yet felt disconnected from. But as Logan approached a red light, something shifted. A group on the sidewalk caught his attention, a woman in simple, weathered clothes hustling 4 small children along. The scene, while chaotic, exuded warmth. The children clung to her hands, giggling through the city's noise. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered life that starkly contrasted his own sterile existence. And then he saw it. His breath caught in his throat as he noticed their faces: piercing blue eyes, a sharp jawline, and an undeniable spark of mischief. The resemblance was unmistakable. Logan's heart raced, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. For a man who prided himself on rationality, this moment defied logic. How could these children look so much like him? His mind scrambled for explanations, but none came. The light turned green. Horns blared behind him, snapping him back to reality. Without thinking, he pulled over to the curb, parking just ahead of where the woman was walking. He stepped out of the car, his movements uncharacteristically hurried. Logan wasn't sure what he planned to say or do, but he needed answers. The woman noticed him immediately, her expression shifting from weariness to caution. She drew the children closer, her protective instincts kicking in. Logan hesitated, unsure how to approach her without alarming her. He removed his sunglasses, revealing his face entirely. "Excuse me," he began, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" The woman's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone sharp, her hand gripping the minor child's shoulder protectively. "They?" Logan gestured toward the children, struggling to find the right words. "They look like me." Her face hardened. "That's none of your business," she snapped. "We don't need anything from you." Logan held up his hands, trying to appear non-threatening. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said softly. "But the resemblance, it's too strong to ignore. Please, I just need to understand." The tension between them was palpable, but the woman, whose name he would later learn was Amelia Blake, seemed to sense the sincerity in his voice. After a long pause, she sighed, her expression softening just slightly. "It's not as simple as you think," she murmured, her voice tinged with exhaustion and defiance. Amelia's mind raced as she looked at the man standing before her. There was no denying the resemblance between him and her children. She had always known this day might come, but hoped it never would. What now? She thought, her heart pounding as she weighed her options. Could she trust him? Would telling him the truth expose her children to a world she had fought to protect them from? On the other hand, Logan found himself grappling with memories he had buried long ago. "Listen," he began again, his tone softer now. I think this might have something to do with my decision years ago." Amelia's eyes flashed with recognition, though she tried to mask it. "What decision?" she asked, her voice cautious. Logan hesitated, feeling a pang of guilt as he dredged up a piece of his past he had rarely spoken of. 5 years ago, I was in a tough place, he admitted. I wasn't the man I am today. I made a sperm donation to make some quick money. I didn't think much of it at the time. I didn't think it would ever lead to something like this. Amelia's face paled, and for a moment, she said nothing. The truth hung between them, unspoken but undeniable. Finally, she exhaled deeply and met his gaze. "They are your children," she said quietly, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "But they're mine too. And I've raised them alone, without asking for anything from you." Logan felt as though the ground had shifted beneath his feet. The implications of her words were staggering. He looked at the children, who were now playing quietly by the curb, unaware of the gravity of the conversation. "I didn't know," he said, his voice thick with regret. "If I had known." Amelia cut him off, her tone sharp. "If you had known, what? Would you have swooped in with your money and fixed everything? Life doesn't work like that, Mr. Carter. These children are my world. I've sacrificed everything for them. You don't get to show up now and act like you have a claim to them." Her words stung, but Logan couldn't deny their truth. He had no right to disrupt their lives, yet he couldn't walk away. "Not now. Not after seeing them." "Amelia," he said, her name unfamiliar on his tongue but carrying a weight he hadn't expected. "I don't want to take anything from you. I want to be a part of their lives. If you'll let me." Amelia studied him, her expression unreadable. She had spent years guarding her children from a world she believed would judge and hurt them. Yet something in Logan's eyes, a vulnerability, a sincerity, made her hesitate. "You don't know what you're asking," she said. "This isn't just about you or me. It's about them. Their safety, their happiness." "I know," Logan replied, "and I'm willing to prove to you that I mean it." Amelia sighed, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She glanced at her children, who looked back at her with innocent curiosity. "All right," she said slowly, "but understand this. I will do whatever it takes to protect my kids. If you hurt them, if you let them down, I will make sure you never get close to them again." Logan nodded, her words sinking in. "I wouldn't expect anything less," he said. As they stood there, an unspoken agreement was forming between them, and neither could have predicted how this moment would reshape their lives. For Logan, it was the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, family, and responsibility. For Amelia, it was the first step toward opening her heart to a man who might be capable of helping her shoulder the weight of her world. Logan Carter followed Amelia Blake and her children to their modest apartment on the city's outskirts. The building was far removed from the luxury Logan was accustomed to, a weathered structure with peeling paint and a small, dimly lit hallway. Yet, as they stepped inside, the atmosphere transformed. The warmth of Amelia's home was undeniable, filled with signs of love and care. Drawings by the children adorned the walls, and the faint scent of fresh bread lingered in the air. The children dashed into the living room, their laughter echoing as they clambered over a faded couch. Logan stood awkwardly near the entrance, feeling out of place in his tailored suit. Amelia motioned for him to sit, her demeanor guarded but polite. She pulled out a chair at the small dining table, its edges worn from years of use. "Tea?" she asked, her voice neutral. Logan nodded, grateful for the offer. As she moved to the kitchen, he observed the room, noting the absence of extravagance but the abundance of life. Toys were neatly stacked in a corner, and a collection of books, everything from children's stories to worn cookbooks, lined a single shelf. He felt a pang of guilt as he thought of his sprawling penthouse, pristine but devoid of personality. When Amelia returned with 2 steaming cups of tea, she sat across from him, her gaze steady. "All right," she said. "If you want to be part of their lives, you must understand what that means." Logan sipped his tea, the bitter taste grounding him. "I'm listening." Amelia leaned forward, her hands clasped. "I've worked hard to give them stability. We don't have much, but they're happy. If you're serious about being involved, you need to be consistent. No disappearing acts, no empty promises. They deserve better than that." Logan nodded, her words striking a chord. "I understand, and I want to start by helping you." Amelia's eyes narrowed. "Helping me? With what? Money?" "No," Logan said quickly, sensing her defensiveness. "I mean, if you need anything, support, resources, even time. Let me be someone you can rely on." Amelia studied him, her expression softening slightly. "Time," she said. "They need time with you if you're going to mean anything to them. And you need time to prove yourself." Logan nodded, a sense of determination rising within him. "Then let me take you all somewhere this weekend. A park, a museum. Wherever the kids would enjoy." Amelia hesitated, but finally agreed. "All right, but I'm coming too." Her protective tone was clear, and Logan respected it. "Of course," he said. As they finished their tea, Logan felt the first stirrings of a connection forming, not just with the children but Amelia herself. Her strength and resilience intrigued him, and he wanted to know more about the woman who had built this world for their children. Saturday arrived with clear skies and warm sunlight, perfect for Logan's planned day. He arrived at Amelia's apartment early, a far cry from his usual late starts on weekends. His sleek black SUV drew stares from neighbors as he stepped out, dressed more casually than normal in a sweater and jeans. The children greeted him with excitement, their energy infectious. Amelia, dressed simply but radiating a quiet grace, stood at the doorway, watching as Logan helped the kids into the car. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this man could bring something good into their lives. Their destination was a sprawling park just outside the city. Logan had arranged a picnic with food, games, and even a few surprises for the kids. As the children ran to explore the playground, Amelia and Logan sat on a blanket, watching them from afar. "Thank you for doing this," Amelia said, her tone sincere but measured. "I should be thanking you," Logan replied, his eyes on the children. "You've raised incredible kids. I can already see that." Amelia's expression softened. "They've taught me more than I've taught them," she said. "They're my reason for everything." The conversation drifted to lighter topics. Logan's childhood with his grandmother, Amelia's life before moving to the U.S. For the first time, they began to see each other not as strangers but as people with shared hopes and struggles. Later in the day, Logan surprised the children with small gifts he had carefully chosen: books for Sophia, a science kit for Clara, and art supplies for Olivia and Mia. Their joy was palpable, and for Logan, it was a moment of pure fulfillment. He hadn't realized how much he needed this connection, purpose, and the simple happiness of making someone smile. As the sun set, Amelia watched Logan play with the children, his laughter blending with theirs. He seemed at ease, as though he belonged there with them. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where Logan wasn't just a visitor in their lives but a permanent presence. On the drive back, the children dozed in the back seat, their energy spent. Amelia glanced at Logan, who was focused on the road. "You did well today," she said quietly. "The kids had fun. They needed that." "So did I," Logan admitted, his voice soft. "I've spent so much time chasing success, but I've never felt as fulfilled as I do now." Amelia didn't respond immediately, but her expression held a trace of a smile. She thought there was perhaps more to Logan Carter than she had initially believed. The following weeks brought a tentative rhythm to the lives of Logan, Amelia, and the children. Logan visited regularly, each time becoming more adept at navigating the chaos of life with 4 energetic children. He learned to tie tiny shoelaces, mediate squabbles over toys, and even sit through an entire reading of Green Eggs and Ham, twice. For the children, Logan's presence was thrilling. Sophia loved his stories about faraway places he'd traveled to. Clara adored the science experiments he brought over. Olivia and Mia quickly declared him their adventure buddy, pulling him into every game their imaginations could conjure. Amelia, however, remained cautious. She had seen too many people make promises they couldn't keep. Though she couldn't deny Logan's growing bond with the children, she held back from fully trusting him. Each evening after Logan left, she sat quietly, replaying the day's events and wondering if she was doing the right thing by letting him into their lives. One evening, as Logan prepared to leave after a day of helping the children build a model rocket, Amelia followed him to the door. "Wait," she said, her voice softer than usual. Logan turned, sensing something significant in her tone. I want to say thank you," Amelia began, "for showing up. For them. It means more than I can put into words." Logan's eyes softened, and for the first time, he reached out and gently touched her arm. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "They've changed my life as much as I hope to change theirs." The sincerity in his voice was disarming, and for a fleeting moment, Amelia allowed herself to believe that Logan truly meant it. But just as she was about to respond, a sharp knock on the door interrupted them. Amelia opened it to find a man standing there, a face from her past she had prayed never to see again. Miguel, her ex-husband, loomed in the doorway, his eyes dark and his expression cold. "What are you doing here?" Amelia asked, her voice trembling. "I came to see my kids," Miguel replied, his tone laced with disdain. "I heard you've been letting someone else play daddy. Thought I'd remind you who their real father is." Logan, sensing the tension, stepped forward. "You're not welcome here," he said firmly, positioning himself between Miguel and Amelia. Miguel smirked, his gaze flickering to Logan. "And who are you? The replacement? Let me guess. You're another guy who thinks he can save her." Before Logan could respond, Amelia raised her hand. "Stop it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "You gave up any right to call yourself their father when you left. You don't get to waltz back into their lives whenever it suits you." Miguel's smirk faded, replaced by a flash of anger. "You can't keep them from me," he snapped. "I'll fight for them if I have to." Amelia's heart raced, but she refused to back down. "You can try," she said, her voice unwavering, "but you'll never be the father they need. Logan is more of a father to them in a few weeks than you've been in their entire lives." The words hung in the air, charged with emotion. Miguel glared at them before turning on his heel and walking away. But the encounter left a lingering unease. Logan turned to Amelia, his face full of concern. "Are you all right?" Amelia nodded, though her hands trembled. "He won't stop," she whispered. "He'll try to make trouble. He always does." "Then let me help," Logan said, his voice firm. "Whatever it takes, you're not facing this alone." The following day, Logan Colito, his attorney, explained the situation. "I need to ensure Amelia and the children are protected," he said, pacing the floor of his penthouse. "Can we look into custody laws? Restraining orders?" The attorney assured him they would explore every option, and Logan felt a surge of determination. He couldn't stand the thought of Miguel disrupting the fragile stability Amelia had worked so hard to create. Meanwhile, Amelia wrestled with her fears. Miguel's sudden appearance had shaken her, but it had also solidified one thing. Logan's presence wasn't a disruption, it was a blessing. She had stood up for herself, and the children reminded her she didn't have to fight every battle alone. Later that week, Logan arrived at Amelia's apartment with an idea. "Let's take the kids out of the city for the weekend," he suggested. "Somewhere peaceful, where we can all breathe a little easier." Amelia hesitated, but saw the hope in his eyes and the excitement in the children's faces when they overheard. She agreed, and 2 days later, they found themselves at a lakeside cabin Logan had rented. The children were ecstatic, running to explore the shoreline and collect smooth, colorful stones. That evening, as the children played by the water, Logan and Amelia sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the lake in hues of gold and pink. For the first time in weeks, Amelia felt a sense of calm. "You didn't have to do all this," she said, breaking the silence. Logan turned to her, his expression earnest. "I wanted to," he said. "Not just for the kids, but for you too. You've carried so much on your own. Let me help lighten the load." Amelia looked away, her eyes glistening. "It's hard to let someone in," she admitted. "Every time I've trusted someone, they've let me down." "I won't," Logan said simply. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, and for the first time, Amelia believed it might be true. The children joined them on the porch as the stars emerged, curling up under a blanket. Logan told them stories of constellations, pointing out Orion and the Big Dipper. The moment's warmth wrapped around them. A fragile yet profound connection is taking root. But even as they shared laughter and quiet moments under the starlit sky, Amelia couldn't shake the lingering fear that Miguel's shadow loomed over them. She knew this newfound family would face challenges ahead, but for now, she allowed herself to savor the peace, trusting that together, they could weather whatever storms came their way. The tranquility of the lakeside weekend lingered in Amelia's heart as they returned to the city. The children, beaming with excitement, chattered nonstop about their adventures. Driving with a relaxed smile, Logan felt a renewed sense of purpose. For the first time in years, his life felt meaningful, tethered to something greater than himself. But reality loomed large. Miguel's threat lingered like a storm cloud. True to Amelia's fears, a letter arrived a week later. A formal notice that Miguel was filing for partial custody of the children. Amelia's hands trembled as she read the words, her breath catching. She had fought so hard to protect her children, to keep them from the chaos Miguel represented. And now he was trying to force his way back into their lives. Logan arrived that evening to find Amelia sitting at the kitchen table, the letter crumpled in her hand. Her face was pale, her eyes rimmed with tears. Without a word, he sat beside her, gently taking the letter from her grasp. He scanned it, his jaw tightening with anger. "He won't win," Logan said firmly, his voice cutting through the silence. "You don't know him," Amelia replied, her voice shaking. "He doesn't care about the kids. He just wants control. He'll twist the truth, make me out to be an unfit mother." "That's not going to happen," Logan interrupted, his tone resolute. "You've done everything for them. Anyone can see that. And I'll make sure the court sees it, too." Amelia looked at him, her eyes filled with doubt. "Why are you doing this, Logan? Why are you willing to fight for us?" Logan hesitated, the weight of her question settling over him. "Because I care about you," he said finally. "And I care about the kids. They've given me something I never thought I'd have, a family. And I'm not going to let anyone take that away." Amelia searched his face, finding no trace of insincerity. For the first time, she felt a flicker of hope that they could fight this together. The following weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Logan's legal team worked tirelessly, gathering evidence to counter Miguel's claims. Witnesses from the community vouched for Amelia's character, while teachers and neighbors provided glowing testimonials about the children's well-being. Logan spared no expense, determined to protect the family he had come to love. But the process took a toll on Amelia. Old wounds were reopened as she was forced to recount her tumultuous marriage to Miguel, the emotional abuse she endured, and the strength it took to walk away. Logan was there for every meeting and every late-night strategy session, and his presence was a steady source of support. One evening, as they prepared for an upcoming court date, Amelia opened up in a way she never had before. "I was so young when I met Miguel," she began, her voice quiet. "He was charming, and I thought he loved me. But it didn't take long for that charm to turn into control. He made me feel small, as if I were nothing without him. When I couldn't give him a child, he made sure I knew I was a failure." Logan listened intently, his heart aching for the pain she had endured. "When I finally got away, I promised myself I'd never let anyone define my worth again," Amelia continued, her voice trembling. "And then the kids came into my life. They saved me, Logan. They gave me a reason to keep going." "They're lucky to have you," Logan said softly. "And so am I." Amelia looked at him, her guard momentarily slipping. "You've done so much for us," she said. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You don't have to, Logan replied. Just let me be here for you. For all of you. The sincerity in his voice melted the last of Amelia's defenses. For the first time, she believed that Logan wasn't like Miguel. He wasn't here to control or take, but to give, build, and stand by her side. The court date arrived with a palpable tension. Miguel's lawyer painted a picture of a changed man, claiming he wanted to be part of his children's lives. But the evidence Logan's team presented was damning. Miguel's history of neglect, his lack of involvement, and his sporadic employment painted a different story. Amelia took the stand, her voice steady as she recounted her journey as a mother. She spoke of her sacrifices, the joy her children brought her, and the unwavering determination to give them the life they deserved. Logan watched from the gallery, his heart swelling with pride at her courage. When the judge delivered the ruling, it was clear. Miguel's request for custody was denied. The court recognized Amelia as the sole guardian, and Miguel granted only supervised visitation. Relief washed over her as tears streamed down her face. Logan was by her side instantly, his arms around her in a gesture of comfort and triumph. The victory was not just a legal one, but a turning point in their lives. For the first time, Amelia imagined a future where she wasn't carrying the burden alone. And for Logan, it was a confirmation that he had found something worth fighting for. The courtroom victory marked a turning point in Amelia's life. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of security she had almost forgotten existed. The shadow of Miguel's influence had been lifted, and for the first time, she could breathe freely. Logan, ever the steady presence, remained by her side as they navigated this new chapter. But the journey was far from over. While the legal battle had ended, the emotional toll lingered. Amelia began to notice subtle changes in her children, moments of insecurity, questions about their father, and a lingering fear of losing the stability they had just regained. Logan, now fully entrenched in their lives, took it upon himself to address these concerns. One evening, as the children gathered for a bedtime story, Logan decided it was time to have an honest conversation. He closed the book and looked at them with a soft smile. "Can I tell you something important?" he asked. The children nodded, their eyes wide with curiosity. "I want you to know that no matter what, you are loved," Logan began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Your mom has always been there for you, and now, I want to be here for you too. You don't have to worry about anything changing because we're a team. All of us." Sophia, the eldest, looked up at him with curiosity and caution. "Does that mean you'll stay with us forever?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Logan smiled, reaching out to hold her tiny hand. "If you'll let me, I'd like to," he said. "Being with you and your mom has made me realize what matters in life." The children exchanged glances, their young minds processing his words. Finally, Olivia, the boldest of the group, declared, "Then you have to be in our secret club." "Secret club?" Logan asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yep," Olivia said, her grin mischievous. "You have to do the initiation." The room erupted in laughter as the children began outlining their elaborate initiation process, which involved silly dances and answering impossible riddles. For the first time in months, the apartment was filled with unbridled joy, and Amelia watched from the doorway, her heart swelling with gratitude. As weeks turned into months, Logan's presence became a cornerstone of Amelia and the children's lives. He didn't just provide financial support. He actively participated in their everyday moments. He attended school plays, helped with science projects, and even learned how to braid hair after a disastrous attempt one morning that left everyone, including Amelia, in fits of laughter. But Logan's efforts extended beyond the family. Inspired by Amelia's resilience and the community supporting her during tough times, he began to rethink his priorities. The business empire that once consumed him now seemed hollow compared to the fulfillment he found with Amelia and the kids. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Logan shared an idea. "I've been thinking about starting a foundation," he said, his tone thoughtful. "Something to help single parents like you, to give them the resources and support they need." Amelia's eyes widened in surprise. "Logan, that's incredible," she said. "But why?" "Because of you," he admitted. You've shown me what real strength looks like, and I want to give others the same chance you gave your kids. A chance to build a life filled with love and possibility. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as she reached for his hand. You don't just change lives, Logan, she said softly. You transform them. The following weeks were a whirlwind of planning. Logan threw himself into creating the foundation, involving Amelia in every step. Together, they envisioned programs that offered childcare, career training, and emotional support for struggling single parents. Amelia's personal experiences became the cornerstone of the foundation's mission, and her voice resonated deeply with the team they assembled. But amidst the busy days, Logan realized something else. His feelings for Amelia had grown more profound, something he could no longer ignore. She had become his anchor, reminding him of what truly mattered. One crisp autumn evening, as they walked through the park with the children, Logan pulled Amelia aside. The kids ran ahead, their laughter echoing through the trees. Amelia, he began, his voice uncharacteristically nervous. These past months have been the best of my life. You and the kids. You've given me a purpose I didn't know I needed. Amelia looked at him, her expression soft but curious. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Logan continued, pulling a small box from his pocket. He opened it to reveal a simple yet elegant ring. Will you marry me? Amelia's breath caught, her hand flying to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. She couldn't speak for a moment, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his gaze. Yes, she whispered finally, her voice trembling. 1,000 times, yes. Sensing the excitement, the children came back to them, their curiosity piqued. When Logan explained what had happened, they erupted in cheers, immediately planning the wedding imaginatively. That night, as they all sat together in the living room, the sense of family was undeniable. Logan looked around, his heart full. For the first time in his life, he felt truly at home. The months leading up to the wedding were a joyful blur of planning and preparation, filled with laughter, love, and the children's boundless energy. Amelia, initially hesitant about a big celebration, was persuaded by the kids and Logan to embrace the occasion. It's not just about us, Logan had said one evening as they discussed the details. It's about celebrating the family we've become. The wedding was set for a crisp spring afternoon, to be held in the sprawling gardens of Logan's newly renovated estate. The once stark, imposing mansion had been transformed under Amelia's influence, with warm colors, inviting furniture, and a playroom that quickly became the children's favorite spot. The house, which had once symbolized isolation, now pulsed with life. Amelia found herself marveling at how far they had come. She watched as Logan rehearsed a dance routine with the kids, something they had insisted he perfected before the big day. His awkward but earnest attempts at twirling and stepping to the beat left them all in fits of laughter. Amelia's heart swelled with pride as she saw the man who had once been a stranger now fully immersed in the joys of fatherhood. As the wedding day approached, Logan's grandmother, Eleanor, grew increasingly involved. Though frail, she insisted on overseeing every detail, from the floral arrangements to the choice of music. This family is my greatest blessing, she told Amelia one morning as they shared tea. I want this day to reflect the love that brought us together. The children, too, played their roles with enthusiasm. Sophia wrote a speech about her bonus dad, Clara designed a set of handmade invitations for close family and friends, and Olivia and Mia busied themselves creating colorful paper and glitter decorations. When the day finally arrived, it was nothing short of magical. The sun shone brightly, casting a golden glow over the gardens. Amelia walked down the aisle hand in hand with the children, her face radiant with happiness. Logan stood at the altar, his heart pounding as he watched the woman who had transformed his life approach him. There wasn't a dry eye among the guests as they exchanged vows. Logan's words were heartfelt, his voice steady as he promised to love and protect Amelia and the 4 children who had become his world. Amelia's vows reflected her journey, her gratitude for finding love and family when she had least expected it, and her promise to build a future rooted in trust and joy. The ceremony ended with the children joining them at the altar, a symbol of the family they had become. As the crowd erupted in applause, Logan and Amelia shared their first kiss as husband and wife, surrounded by the people who mattered most. The following years were a testament to the power of love, resilience, and second chances. Logan and Amelia's life together blossomed in ways neither could have imagined. Their foundation increased, becoming a beacon of hope for single parents nationwide. They hosted workshops, built community centers, and even funded scholarships for children from disadvantaged backgrounds. The children thrived in this nurturing environment. Sophia discovered a passion for writing, penning short stories inspired by her family. Clara pursued her love of science, winning awards for her innovative projects. Olivia and Mia, inseparable as always, brought joy wherever they went with their boundless creativity and mischief. Though physically weaker with each passing year, Eleanor found renewed purpose in watching her family grow. She often sat in the garden with the children, sharing stories from her youth and dispensing wisdom that would shape their lives. On her 90th birthday, surrounded by her great-grandchildren, she declared it the happiest day of her life. One summer evening, years after their wedding, Logan and Amelia sat on the porch of their home, watching the sunset over the horizon. The children were older now, their laughter echoing faintly from the far end of the garden. Logan reached for Amelia's hand, his touch warm and familiar. "You've given me everything I never knew I needed," he said, his voice tinged with gratitude. "And you've given me a life I never dared to dream of," Amelia replied, leaning her head against his shoulder. In that moment, they felt the weight of their journey, their struggles, the love they had built, and the legacy they were creating. Their story was one of redemption and transformation, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, life could surprise you with brilliance. As the stars began to dot the night sky, Logan smiled at Amelia. "Do you think the kids realize how much they've changed us?" Amelia laughed softly. "Probably not. But one day, they'll understand when they have their own families." Together, they watched the night deepen, their hearts full. Their family wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, built on a foundation of love, trust, and the unshakable bond they shared. And in that, they found a richness that no money could ever replicate. The final scene was one of quiet contentment, an image of a family united, their laughter and love echoing into the night. It was a legacy that would endure, a story of hope and resilience that would inspire future generations.